In this lesson, we'll create a recess to hold a hex nut. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to create a mirror feature and use Sketch Polygon. So at this point, we have cable entries and exits from our component tray. We have the holes where we can actually bolt this to the airframe or the X-Star body. The last thing that we really need to take care of is cutting the hexes. Now this is a fairly straightforward process. We're going to create a sketch on the top plane. So we're going to go to the origin, the XZ plane, create a sketch. Now we have the bolt hole locations, but I'm going to use P on the keyboard and I'm going to project these. And we really only need to cut one because we can mirror them, but I'm going to go ahead and project all four of those. Go to Sketch. We're going to be using Polygon. And you also have the option to right click, go down to Sketch here, go to Polygon and use the circumscribed polygon. And we'll go to the center point of this hole. Now notice it's not snapping to it, but that's okay. I'm going to place it here anyways. I'm going to give it an 8mm diameter. And notice that that actually gives it an 8mm radius. So we're going to put a 4. We're going to go back to our sketches folder. We're going to go to our folder for the component tray location. And we're going to bring this down and we're going to snap it to this whole location. We're going to make this horizontal. Now we have enough material here for an 8mm nut. Now if you want to, you can dimension this after the fact. When you're placing it, you don't have to add the dimension, and then it'll be under constrained. We can add a dimension from here to here of 8mm. And now we have enough material here for an 8mm nut. Now I think it's a good idea to add a little bit because this is geometry that's very hard for you to modify after the fact. So I like to go at least 1/4 or 1/2 millimeter larger to make sure that I have enough room to drop that in. I'm going to stop the sketch. I'm going to create an extrude using that profile. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button. I'm going to select that as well as the inside. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that when I extrude this, I have a flat face that I'm extruding from. So in order to do that, I have to do an offset plane. And I'm going to offset this 70mm and pull this up and see where this gets me to. So as I look at it from the front, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving too little amount of material here. So I might actually want to go up 71mm and say OK. Now the thickness of the nut is going to depend on what kinds of nuts that you order. In our case, it's 2.7mm tall. And if you remember, the cut down that we used was 3mm from the top. So it looks like we have plenty of material here, and we can actually measure that to make sure that we do. If we measure this edge, the height of it is 3.47mm. So that's plenty of material here to drop the 2.7 nut in there. So let's go back, let's hide all the old sketches, and let's create a mirror feature of this before we save. So under Create, we're going to mirror a feature. We're going to mirror this across the front plane. We're going to say OK. Then we're going to repeat that command, and we want to mirror the original as well as the mirror. We're going to take these across the right plane and again say OK. So now we have the hex nut cutouts on all 4 bolt hole locations. We can drop an 8mm from flat to flat. That's for a 5mm screw. And we have the counter bore to use a socket head cap screw. It's 5mm. We can zip tie our batteries on. We have all the different component holding locations on the inside. So let's go ahead and save this file so we can move on to the next steps.